Now in studio, live from Virginia Mason Athletic Center. Clint, hi. How do you like Seattle so far?
It's been great. You know, it's been
freezing,
rainy. It's been a little cold, but
cold.
That's all right. You know, grew up in Colorado,
Yeah.
lived in Minnesota, so it's been a good start here. A little baptism by fire, just finding a place to live, finding out where you park at, learning the team, learning your coworkers. But really a blessing to be here.
Naturally, when you were hired, everyone goes back. They're trying to figure out who you are. I went all the way back to Colorado State, man, where you were a safety, and you made the transition over to offense. And I've always had coaches that I've worked with say, well, you should try defense. You'll probably be a better defensive player because you know the different angles and stuff. What was it about you spending time on defense made you want to go over to the offensive side?
Yeah, well, funny story. When I started coaching as a grad assistant at A&M, I went there as a defensive GA. And I was there for 2 weeks, and the head coach just came in and said, hey, you're moving to offense. You're going to go work with the wide receivers. And at the time, I was pretty upset with it.
Right.
And then, you just, yes, sir, I got it. I want to work here. I want to be coach. So it was a blessing in disguise. Got to work with Mike Sherman, who, had worked with my dad in a previous stop. So it was a really cool experience and kind of set me on this path here.
Nice.
You guys started out just on fire last season with New Orleans, ran into obviously some really tough injuries. What was it like? What was maybe for you the toughest experience as OC there, trying to work through those injuries, work through those struggles? Because obviously you were kind of one hand behind your back.
Yeah, that's part of football. That's part of the job in the NFL is dealing with that. And no matter where you go, it doesn't matter. You're going to have injuries. You're going to have guys step up. So I thought it was really, I enjoyed it because you got to coach so many young players that were coming into your roster, young quarterback, young wide receivers. When guys are coming in and out of the roster, you got to find the positives in that. And that's, as a coach, as a teacher, and having the young guys have success, that's really fun.
I really enjoyed watching your film from last year. I know people can get caught up on the scores and not really know the specifics, but obviously you have an emphasis on that outside zone. Explain to the people why you lean on that and how it helps you manipulate defenses to set everything else up.
Yeah, well, I think it is. You gotta have something. You gotta have an identity, right? So ideally, we want our identity to be able to team that can run the football versus an 8-man front, and a team that can play action, a team that can move the pocket, a team that can, push the ball down the field on first and second down and be explosive. So that's a starting point for us. Now, what we become is up to our players. We'll start with a basic installation, and then we got to find out what our guys do well, and what we're running on Sunday might be totally different. It's all based off of what they do well. So I think it'll be really important that we get together in April with our guys and start laying a foundation of what I think we can be, and then you always got to pivot to what the guys do well.
What were some of the weapons here you were most intrigued by, or maybe you kind of started thinking once you knew you got the job, like,
yeah,
can't wait to get my hands on working around this guy?
Yeah, obviously it starts with the quarterback. Really impressed with Gino, DK, Jax, Noah Fant. There's a lot of young players, skill players that are very good. Obviously, in the backfield with Kenneth and with Charbonnet. These are some talented backs, and there's a lot of pieces to be excited about. But there's also going to be some new pieces we add to the roster that we're going to coach. So whoever those guys are that contribute to our success on Sunday, we're going to find out in the off season, and we're going to build on that together. It might be someone we're not even talking about right now.
Right.
So that's the really fun part of coaching is getting to be a part of guys' careers that are whether they're a new guy or maybe a veteran that hasn't had an opportunity before.
Man, the running back position has changed in the last 10, 15 years, right? When we were growing up, it was the big bruisers get downhill, but now they're asked to do a lot, right? They're asked to get those matchups in the pass game or whatnot. And I watched the way that you've used your running backs. When you look at the situation here with Kenny and K9 and Zach Charbonnet, do you envision yourself getting those same matchups you got last year in New Orleans?
Yeah, I think, for us to be successful, we got to ask a lot of our backs in the pass game. We're definitely going to ask a lot of them running the football, but using them in screens, using them, motion them out into empty, and just getting them touches, however that is. But I think that's what excites me about working with especially K9 and Charbonnet is their ability to catch football.
You have a super interesting family background. What would it have been like if you didn't like football?
Yeah.
What, you know what I mean? Like, I would imagine from a very young age. Do you even remember how young you were when you kind of started getting really into football?
No, that's just, I was really, really lucky, obviously, to get to grow up in that environment. And to me, it was always just a normal. But now, being older and just realizing how fortunate I was to have that opportunity. So, and also really fortunate that I had parents that didn't push me into anything, just kind of follow your passions. And lucky enough, my passion aligned with a family business.
How does your passion align with Mike McDonald? I know X's and O's have to make sense. You guys can be on the right page, but so far, how's that relationship going?
It's been great. Obviously, going into the interview process and having a lot of respect for Mike and playing against him, when they're in Baltimore and just knowing what he's about based on the silent tape, to see the physicality of his defenses. So that was a no-brainer just from the start, and then get to be around him and work with him every day. Definitely see the intelligence, the communication skills, and the vision that he has for this football team. So I'm just, I'm excited to be a part of that vision. And I'm just, fortunate to get to work with Mike.
Lots of very familiar faces for you coming to the NFC West, too. I mean, obviously, well-connected, great network. No matter where you go, you're going to know guys. But, I mean, you've got Sean McVay. You've clearly got Shanahan. I mean, these names, these people. What's it like now being in a division where do you feel like there's an added layer of fun to game planning?
It's going to be a real challenge. Those are some really impressive names and really good coaches on excellent rosters. And I'll just say this: we're going to make it about ourselves. We'll focus on us, and no matter whether we're playing our division or somebody in the AFC, it's really irrelevant. It's how we develop our players and our team, and that's going to be the challenge for us as coaches.
You clearly have to look at your personnel, see what you got, what they can or can't do. But just from 30,000 feet up, if we're looking at Kubiak's offense, what should we expect to see?
Yeah, well, to me, it's really important that I communicate that to the players. And I haven't seen any of these players yet. I've talked to them on the phone. Those are going to be important conversations we have here in the middle of April. Like, guys, this is what we want out of you guys, and I hope you can appreciate that I'm not going to sit here and make a bunch of promises and say what we're going to be, because those are some things that you really got to think about and put a lot of time into. And as I watch the tape and I get to know who we are, we're going to start developing a more narrowed vision for our guys. So I look forward to having those meetings. But at the end of the day, smart, tough, dependable is what we're looking for. And I know that there's a roster full of those guys right now that John and Mike have already established.
This is a weird question, but we kept hearing Mike McDonald say, and it's okay if you can't answer because it's kind of related. We kept hearing Mike McDonald say, I want toughness. And obviously a head coach is going to be limited in how he explains how he wants that. But as just a random fan who's never played, I'm always like, how do you game plan toughness? Like, how do you know what I mean? Like, how does that work its way into a scheme? Are there ways that I'm trying to think of how to ask where you're covered here. Are there ways that you like to explore, toughness on a roster? Is it, trying to get the most out of players? Do you prefer to look at game planning or scheme for that kind of stuff? If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I can't speak for coach, but I think what comes to my mind is a brand of physicality, an operating way of doing business. Guys that are, that can push through physical practices and long padded training camps, and guys that can stay available throughout the the little injuries that they get and play through them. Not guys that are playing hurt, but if you got a little nick and you can play through it and keep getting better throughout practice, those are kind of guys that I see as tough guys. You can be a tough team and be a team that throws the ball a lot. You can be a tough team and be a team that runs the ball. I just said this in the press conference, and I truly believe this. That those toughest guys, you're going to try to develop that, but those are guys that you draft. Those are guys that you bring in as free agents. Those are guys that have built those reputations over a career of football. So we're going to emphasize toughness. We're going to practice hard. We're going to demand a lot out of them, but then we're going to seek those individuals that possess those traits.
I fell in love with the tight end position the last like 5 or 6 years, man. Obviously, they're one of the most versatile players on the football field. Love the way you use them at your stops. What do you look for in a tight end? Physical, mental game? What attributes are you looking for?
Yeah, I think it's such a critical position in our scheme for sure, because you're involved in the run and pass game and protection. But I think obviously you're looking for a guy, number one, a guy that can contribute to blocking in the run game, and then a guy that can stretch the field. Especially nowadays, a guy that you can rip the seams to, and a guy that can make explosive plays in between the hashes for you, and then a guy that can go block a 265-pound defensive end. So that's not an easy guy to find,
right.
And it's definitely you find guys in that tight end room that can probably that major in different things, bigger tight ends that are better at blocking, and your move tight ends that can catch the ball better. But at the end of the day, both those guys better be able to block.
Yep.
Last one for me. Is there, I'm sure, family members already an answer to this, but is there anyone else around the league or in previous iterations of the NFL where you've just really enjoyed watching his tape, kind of being a study of his?
Yeah, we're always studying the top offenses every season. There's a lot of ways to go there, and I don't want to pat too many guys on the back, but you can probably think about who they are. You look at the rankings in the NFL, but that's something I'm asking the coaches to do right now. We're studying the teams that are the best in their category and multiple things. Who are the best third down teams, red zone teams, who takes care of the ball the best, who's the best short yardage team, who's got the best, most explosive passes, who's got the most explosive runs, who attacks this front the best, and every team does a little, something better than anybody else. So we're studying those guys, and we're trying to add that to our scheme, but we're also just kind of, hey, let's get good at what we do, and that's again, let's worry about ourselves. So it's something that we're going to stress to the guys initially when they get here in April.
Well, and when you finally meet them, I'm so excited for you to meet these guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to Bump and I. We're excited to see what you guys roll out in training camp, roll out this season. He is Klint Kubiak, and congratulations. Have fun exploring the city, kind of taking some time before you guys dive into everything.
Thank you. Thanks
we
for having me.
appreciate you joining us. All right, don't go anywhere.